Hey, this is Jet. Welcome to this edition of After 5, a music, art, and entertainment podcast picking up where my radio show left off. And welcome back. We have our next guest with us. We have Scott Taysom of the band Cloak. Welcome to the show, Scott.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So, Scott, the band's been around now for about 10 years. So when you first started the band, what were some of, the goals you made for yourself that you wanted to achieve in Cloak?
Yeah, so I think in the beginning we wanted to be anything but just another local band. So we wanted to get out there and tour as much as we can and actually release, consecutive records and put work into that, and not just... A lot of Atlanta bands, unfortunately, they're really good, but they take a while to do things. And I think we were on a mission. So we didn't want to be a band and then take forever to put out the first record. And of course, we went through a couple changes in the beginning. As you said, we have been around for 10 years, but realistically, we've only been going strong since 2015. So the 2013 was really kind of the first... the first kind of incarnation of the band. And then we had to, go through a couple things. And 2015 was when we really hit the ground running and, got our first record out in 2017, then 19, and then, of course, this year. So, I think our goal was to just be extremely active.
So who are some of your, musical influences, and how does that influence kind of spill over into Cloak and your creative process?
Yeah, so, we have numerous inspirations, anything from the Misfits to Morbid Angel to Entombed to Deep Purple, AC/DC. It all kind of spills in. I think the 70s band, as I mentioned, like Rainbow and Deep Purple and bands like that are very rhythmic. So I think that has always carried over in our music. Danzig, all of the Danzig bands, who I mention a lot in interviews, are very inspiring for us. And I think the mood and the will that he had as an artist has been inspiring, much like a Quorthon from Bathory or someone of that nature. They always did it their way. They kept it dark, and there wasn't really any compromise. So I think that true artistry is really a turn on for us as artists, and that carries over more so than just band's music. I think at this point, we've been a band for as long as we just mentioned, and we're on our third record. So a lot of the inspiration comes from inwards rather than outwards at this point. So it's more just looking at the artist's approach to things, and that is really inspiring for us. Of course, there's inspirations from black metal bands, the second wave of black metal, but also heavy metal bands like Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, Traitors Gate, Satan, and bands like that. So I think we always have those more melodic lead parts that I think sets us aside from bands of our genre.
So you have a couple of full-length albums under your belt, and you're about to release your third full-length off-season of Mist Records called Black Flame Eternal. So tell us about the importance of the third album and what emotions and kind of thought process went into writing this.
Yeah, so the third album is, to me, an important number in many bands' catalogs. Master of Puppets, Rain and Blood, you name it, Number of the Beast. There's lots of records that are monumental for bands that are the third album. So going in with that approach, we knew that we wanted to have this be really important. I see Black Flame Eternal as a total shift and a total new era for Cloak. Hands down, I think it's the best record. I think everyone I've shown it to has said that. So I think we wanted to go into it with the approach of this has to be a defining moment in Cloak's history. So, and I think it is. And if you compare it to the first two, it stands on its own. Whereas the first two could maybe mesh together a little bit. I think this one stands on its own for sure. So I think the attitude we wanted to go in with was it's got to be a monumental part in our history as a band.
And what is the underlying philosophy behind Black Flame Eternal?
The black flame represents the spiritual flame. So there's lots of there's lots of themes of fire on the record, and fire is representative of a life lived free. It can be looked at as that. It's wild, it's untamed, it's unpredictable. It spreads and it burns, and then it doesn't. It stops one day. But the black flame in a lot of left-hand philosophy represents the spiritual flame inside. So that flame, if strong enough, can essentially burn for eternity, and the spirit lives on forever. And that's where that's a little bit of where the title comes from.
And now, did you guys do anything differently when approaching this album musically?
No, not really. I think we worked on the demo process was a bit more intense. Like, we worked on the demos a lot. Of course, we started writing it during 2020, so we had some of that downtime. But it's not a COVID record. It's something that we were going to be working on either way. We just happened to have a little more time. So yeah, I think the demo process was a little more intense. I had a lot more time to meticulously tune those up and really kind of get it to the best of our ability. And yeah, we've been practicing all these new songs. We just had a rehearsal last night, and it's going really well. So it's cool to get back to it and start kind of relearning some parts, because you sort of record it and then you move on, and you got to represent the old record for a little bit longer and do some tours on that. And then now we're kind of focusing on relearning these parts. So it's going well.
So how would you explain this album musically then to people?
Well, I think Cloak's always been a hard band to explain.
That's why I'm letting you do it instead of me.
Yeah, I don't really think I care much to explain the genre. I think I always said it has the backbone of rock and roll, but the spiritual nature of black metal. And I stand by that, but I think this is more leaning towards a more metal record than maybe the rock-based record that we had in the past, which those are, of course, metal too, but this is much more metallic in a way. It has more double bass, more chunky, rhythmic sections, more blasts, same amount of leads, but maybe more solo bass leads. Yeah, I would just tell people it's a more metallic version of the past Cloak records. It's heavier, and it's definitely more intense and faster.
And with this new album coming out, you guys got some touring lined up this year?
We're working on it. It's always hard, but yeah, we have some stuff planned. So hopefully we'll be announced, by the summertime.
And if people want to learn more about the band, find links for merch, find out when you're touring and all that kind of stuff, what are the best sites for them to go to?
Yeah, so we have a Bandcamp. It's official Bandcamp with all of the merch on there in the merch store. Some of it is linked through Season of Mist, the label, and then some of it is linked directly to us. So a lot of the patches and shirts, some of the shirts that you'll see, they'll come directly from us. We actually print our own T-shirts for tour and for our own use. Yeah, and then any of the pins and patches. Things like that will come from me. I'll ship them out, and then everything else right now is a pre-order for the new album. So that'll of course come from the label. You can also go directly to the Season of Mist web shop. All those links are in our socials under that Linktree link. So there's a European shop and there's a US shop. And I want to say the label shop is a couple bucks cheaper. So if you want to save a little bit, you can do that because it doesn't have the Bandcamp fees.
Mm-hmm. Well, there you guys go. Cloak has a new album out on Season of Mist Records called Black Flame Eternal. You can check out their sites for more information on the band, tours, merch, etc. And Scott, thank you for coming on the show today to tell us about the new album, and we wish you all the best.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to get this one out. It's been a long time coming, so I appreciate all the support.